Trump is obviously, as you suggested, pressurizing the Fed to cut rates. Why? Because the economy is weak. And he knows it. If the economy was strong, you would have higher rates. So we will probably see the Fed and government stimulus by the end of this year in America, followed by Europe and some other countries. What is this? Where does this leave us? This actually creates a problem in how I see the world evolving. Our base case for a long time has been that fiscal and monetary stimulus will start a wave of recovery and rising inflation around the middle of next year, which will take us into 2028. But it will be inflationary driven, which means that long-term bond rates, instead of being 4%, by 2028 will be in double digits. What does that do to a highly indebted system? You're going to have a deep recession and a crash in all financial markets. My problem is that if, as I think is quite likely, that Europe or the EU decides to step into Ukraine as a diversionary tactic, it means that money will flood out of Europe before Europe introduces capital controls. The issue then is, what will be the repercussions on the rest of the world? So I'm beginning to fear, it's not yet a forecast, that what will emerge early next year won't be an inflationary takeoff, but at best stagflation and more likely recession. But this is a conundrum that I've not yet concluded. And I think, excuse me, a lot is going to depend on the outcome of the Shanghai Cooperative Organization Summit in Tianjin, China, which is taking place now. Why do I say that? Because you now have Russia, China, now India calling the big shots. And this is not a forecast, but what I think might come out of the summit meeting is to change the parameters of the SCO from a diplomatic forum into a security organization, one that can challenge NATO.
Wow.
So I think what emerges over this week could be very important, certainly from watching the Russian news channels, RT News. You can see the loving going on between Modi, Putin, and Xi. And so I think there is little doubt now that Modi, who has been wooed by Trump, has now decided that India cannot trust America in any deal that is made between the two countries, and that Modi is turning India into a very supportive member of BRICS and the SCO. So that's how I see things at the moment.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit to Europe, and then we'll work our way through China, India, and Russia. Do you see this war? Do you see it winding down, the war in Ukraine and Russia winding down at all? Or
I think, on the contrary, I think we're going to see sometime over the next couple of months an escalation.
an escalation?
For the simple, as I said, for the reason being that Europe needs a diversionary tactic from its own internal problems. Wars normally unite people together, though I'm not so sure whether it will this time around. That's the premise that these guys are working on.
Yeah.
I think, to add a little bit of spice to what I've said, if we go back, time goes fast, 4 to 6 weeks ago, the Russian special forces captured 2 British colonels and an MI6 operative. What were they doing in southern Ukraine, in a command and control center of the Ukrainian armed forces? And were they the only guys there? I think the interesting point is that the Russian media focused on those 3 UK guys and did not make a peep about anybody else being there, which is highly probable that they were. And to speculate, maybe they were there, and given the background, the 2 British colonels, they were orchestrating a false flag operation. Now, Russia having thwarted that one, do these governments through NATO have plan B? Probably.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, and this is speculative thinking, is that we should expect a new false flag operation that blames Russia and then gives NATO the excuse to pose heavier into Ukraine.